Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here with my next Boruto Anime episode review. This one's going to be for episode 77, which is called, something Garga's Ferocious Attack. I thought this was a better episode than last week's. Last episode was a bit disappointing. This one, I feel, had a bit more substance to it because they took the whole thing with Garga in a direction that I didn't really expect, and it made it much more interesting. And they did that by characterizing Garga and taking a different angle on it, where he's not just basically a monster that they have to defeat and get this item. Instead, they turn into a character, and they more are going to play on this idea of he was betrayed in the past, that's why he hates humans, and Boruto is going to try and show him that kind of trust and having faith in someone kind of still exists. And in a really interesting turn of events, Boruto basically makes Garga his summoning snake, because Garga is going to come along with them, and he wants to see how Boruto's meeting with Mitsuki goes, and I suppose see if in fact Boruto having this much faith in someone he cares about is going to work out, and that Mitsuki hasn't betrayed the Leaf Village, hasn't betrayed him. I thought that was a much more interesting way to go about things than just the very simple, he is just a evil snake basically, and we just need to steal this thing from him. It did make a lot of the kind of fighting stuff not feel particularly great, but I like the conversation they had in sort of Garga's like mind space basically. I get the impression that that's probably some sort of a power potentially of Boruto's Yogan, or else they're just going for the whole like ninja thing of like you can sort of sense what each other are saying by like clashing. I feel there's something a little bit more to it there, but it was still interesting that this was something that they they showed just a conversation between them in their minds that obviously they didn't really explain how exactly it happened, but it got something interesting across. Because, giving Garga that backstory of, like, he was someone summoning Snake, and he was very close to this human, and then he was betrayed. Now, I suppose I'll be a little bit critical of this for just it being such a bare bones flashback in, like, no real context given, just this shinobi and Garga defending this outpost against other ninja, and then Garga tries to like rush in for a final attack, basically kind of almost like disobeys an order, and then the ninja just like takes him out from behind like this lightning jutsu, and kind of that's why his eye is like it is. I think part of the problem was like, why did he do that? In that I think they're leaving it vague because they're, I think, maybe leaving it open where like the shinobi was potentially like saving Garga by like making it look like he kind of took him out and hurt him or something like that, or else they are just going down the road of just like, yeah, that shinobi wasn't great and he took out Garga and switched sides. I think it just wasn't particularly clear about what the ninja actually did, to the point where it made Garga feel very like, it made the dynamic feel a little basic, where it's just like he was a sly shinobi, he was a betrayer, he had a evil look in his eye. Whereas I think it would have had more impact if they actually had like given us more context and like characterized it a little bit more. For what it was fine. It got across the idea of Garga has suffered a betrayal, having previously been the summoning snake of someone, and he's going to have to kind of learn from that. So that's going to be interesting to see going forward. We see Boruto actually use the summoning jutsu and summon it right in front of the snake sage, who reveals that, oh, it's just this kind of fake form of the kind of old person, that they are actually a snake themselves. We get to see, I suppose, the memories from this snake about what exactly happened, and it kind of confirms to them that, okay, at the very least, Mitsuki isn't full-on gone. He actually helped to save the gatekeeper guy by making it look like he was killed, by having the snake use its venom to like stop his heart temporarily, and in doing so he saved him, because as we see in this episode, the people from the Earth, the land of Earth, these ninjas are very willing to kill. And we saw that with Yugito in this episode, or is it Yorito? I forget, but either way, very brutal how he was just like, okay, revealed to be under genjutsu, but then the second he's removed from it, he's immediately killed. It was just really brutal. It actually got those across as villains like really well. The fact that the second it slipped, they weren't willing to just let him go. They just kind of killed him immediately. So that was pretty crazy. And you know, I suppose Mitsuki being able to be aware that that's the way they roll on actually saving someone. But still, Shikadai has some doubts because Mitsuki still went with them. It's not like he sort of defended people who would have otherwise been killed by like making it look like they were dead. He still went with them, and there's still a mystery around that. So we'll see exactly what's going on here. They now need to, I suppose, properly characterize these guys and really get across who they are. But I suppose we'll see how that exactly plays out as the episodes move on. I suppose, yeah, on the other side of things, we did see, I suppose, the reveal of Yurito, is it? As the being under genjutsu. Udon got a really good chance to shine here, along with Metal Lee's team. Denki got out of the situation where he was being used as a hostage, so he got a chance to do something. And yeah, Udon really impressed with the just really quick getting behind the guy's back and releasing the jutsu. That was a good use of skill. Whereas like Moegi and Konohamaru have kind of been like a little bit like we need to see them in a proper fight and show how powerful they actually are. Konohamaru especially, I think, has kind of felt a little weak compared to where he should be. And then Moegi, I think they just haven't committed yet to showing the fact that like she can use wood jutsu when she needs to. She hasn't really had a proper fight. But still, it's nice to see that whole team getting like being used as like the new generation of kind of Jonin in a way. But that was pretty much all there was for. I think that was most of the episode. They like resolve obviously with Garaga agreeing to go with Boruto. The whole Chocho's been turned to stone thing. And just overall the whole theme of now it's going to be about trust, and it's not just about like Boruto wanting to understand Mitsuki more now, but it's also him proving to this snake that there's still something in trusting people. Now, will Boruto be keeping Garaga as his summoning animal outside of this arc here? I'm not sure. At the very least, it confirms to us that Boruto knows the details of how to enter a summoning contract with an animal, and he's powerful enough to use a jutsu to summon an animal that big. Because like they're basically saying that Garaga is more powerful than Aoda, and Boruto can summon it. So that's very impressive on his part. Is Boruto going to be the one to use a snake as a summoning animal the whole time? I'm not sure if this just fully locks him in. They didn't obviously show the details of the summoning kind of pact that they did. Obviously, the fact that he summoned him using kind of blood shows that like they made it. But we'll see if like he maybe switches, like he goes down the Toad Road or not. Because like especially with them kind of setting up that like Sarada is actually like seems to get on very well with Aoda. It could have gone down the road of maybe like, oh, she'd be the one with the snake, but if she's going to take down, I suppose, more Naruto's road, she might be the one to maybe get a toad summon at some point. And then Mitsuki probably doesn't even need a summon, but like he's also to do with snakes. So it seems like for the most part with this new team, they're perhaps not going to necessarily stick to, they're going to have a snake, a slug, and a toad all in the same team. Mitsuki seems different enough to the point where they may not do that. But he's so associated with the snakes and borderline like is a snake sage basically, with his kind of special kind of power that he has. So thematically you'd feel that like Mitsuki be the one with the snake summon, and he sort of already has that, just not a big snake. So it might be about just like what exact direction they go. I could see them perhaps going down the road of maybe like by the end having Garaga maybe switch over and be like a Mitsuki's summon or something like that. I think that would make maybe a little bit more sense, and that leaves the rest of the group open to have the other ones. But I still think we're relatively early in that. I think the only thing in this is just that, like, the manga obviously doesn't cover this at all, and you know, I don't know if they just randomly say, oh yeah, he has a snake summon now, and you just didn't see that. So it really makes me further lean down the road of, like, the anime for Boruto is the main content, and the manga is just it's just a thing that they're doing, but it's not really the focus necessarily. The anime feels like that's where you're getting the full story for the most part. But yeah, I think that's most of what I wanted to talk about for this one. As I said, improvement over last week's episode. I still think we're a little... The pacing's a little slow. We're a little too much meandering over the place. Next episode looks like they're going to properly get into some of, I suppose, the meat of what we want. In that it's basically, it was called, like, I think the episode is going to be called Everyone's Motives. So the explanations that we've needed, I think. Probably get some explanation on Mitsuki, these new kind of Earth, Land of Earth kind of ninja, that sort of stuff. And it looks like they're going to send a message back to the village to let them know that they think Mitsuki is probably innocent in all of this. So it'll probably begin to kind of incorporate everything together and build towards some sort of a big kind of finale action set piece. But yeah, that's been my review for the episode. In the comments, let me know what your thoughts were on this one. But yeah, that's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.